hundreds of hours of unspent sick time, hundreds of hours, weeks of time that they had earned, stolen from them by leeches.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Folks, this an evil spirit has a hold of the hearts of men in Alabama, and we need to talk about it. That's right. I'm talking about the University of North Alabama privatizing their environmental service workers, like their groundskeepers, right? The people who kind of clean up the university. And it is just so really cut and dry. Like the decision makers here are doing a bad thing, and it is difficult for me to understand the decision-making process that how you could rationalize this to yourself other than demonic stuff having its grips on your mind. Like as a non-religious person, right? It's just so crazy. Aria Pons with WAFF reported on this story. She interviewed some of the affected workers. Let's play this clip 1.
A handful of environmental service employees tell me they're between a rock and a hard place after the University of North Alabama contracted out a company called SSC to take over their custodial division.
We're not being thought of as people. We're being thought of as things.
The title of the article that you can find online on WAFF is Employees Express Concerns After UNA Partners with Private Company. Definitely check it out for more information. Aria did a great job, I think. A lot of times I find that local news stories are lacking when it comes to stuff like this, but I really appreciate her reporting here. It really did a good job. And she was able to collect, a few different workers and their thoughts on it. But I'm going to talk some more about it, but it really is a betrayal of these workers. Listen to one of them tell Aria why she works for UNA.
The reason a lot of people takes the job at UNA is for the benefits, for the PTO time, for the sick time, for the holidays off, to be with your family. And now we're not going to have any of that.
The change will come with a pay increase, but employees say that increase is offset by higher insurance costs, up to $375 biweekly.
Did you catch that at the end? Health insurance for $375 biweekly. That is $700 a month I think that's the total, increased to $375 biweekly. But that's $700 a month for insurance for people who are going to be making $12 an hour. $12 an hour. And that's the problem here, right? It's, I'm generally negatively predisposed towards privatization because generally it means bad things for workers. But that's why privatization is bad, because it means bad things for workers. The top line here is that these workers who were keeping the University of North Alabama clean were previously only making between $10 and $11 an hour, but they kept those jobs because they had security, they had a pension, they had time off, they had cheap health care. That's why they kept this job, and they were willing to sacrifice their labor for $10 to $11 an hour. Now, this private contractor, SSC Education Services, is going to be taking over the contract. The workers are going to be employees of SSC instead. They're going to be making now $12 an hour, but you just heard healthcare is going to significantly increase. They're going to lose their pension. Now they're going to have a 401k, a scam, instead of a pension. They are only going to they are going to go from all of the state holidays and everything like that on top of paid vacation to 5 vacation days per year. I mean, crazy. This is just crazy. The United Campus Workers of Alabama, a union representing, workers on college campuses in Alabama, responded in an open letter to the university. And I'm going to read from it at length because I haven't even told you all of the crazy stuff. I mean, it's just so insane. I'm going to read from it at length. I encourage folks to find UCWAL on Facebook. You can read the full thing. I'm going to be reading from most of it right now, though. But they say, we're writing to oppose the university's recent decision to outsource its environmental service workers to SSC Education Services on the following grounds. They list 5 reasons. Number 1, while SSC Educational Services claims to be headquartered in Knoxville, Tennessee, it is run by Compass Group, based in Surrey, UK, the United Kingdom. The British hedge fund that BlackRock is its largest investor, intending to maximize profit for its shareholders. The privatization and outsourcing of units on our regional state campus and the profits that will flow outside of the region to SSC and the Compass Group are the exact opposite of local investment, which UNA claims they want to do. And that's what we see time and time again with these when these hedge funds like BlackRock or whatever the other ones are called, when they purchase Alabama companies, they steal money from the communities. I mean, we saw this with Warrior Met, right? Warrior Met was previously Jim Walters Energy, and Warrior Met, backed by BlackRock and other private equity firms, purchased Jim Walters Energy, turned it into Warrior Met, and over the course of, and they cut the coal miners' pay and benefits and everything like that so substantially that over the course of 5 years, if the coal miners had just been able to keep the benefits and compensation that they had under their union contract with Jim Walters Energy, if they had just stayed, not increased at all, just stayed, they would have had $1.1 billion more in their pockets going into the local communities. But instead, that $1.1 billion from 2016 to 2021 went to New York and to DC and to Australia into the pockets of billionaires and hedge fund managers. And that's what SSC Educational Services wants to do. They want to be able to take, because this money is going to go somewhere, right? It was going for these people who were making $10, $11 an hour. It was going to a pension. It was going to paid time off. It was going to health care. Now that money is going to go line the pockets of some vampire blood-sucking leech in the United Kingdom. What the hell? That's only the first reason. I'm so enraged. Like, I'm literally red and I'm hot. It's insane. Number 2, they say it's a betrayal of trust. And this is what we were talking about, what this worker told WAFF, that we work for this company because of all these benefits, not for the pay. So UCW says environmental service employees who only made between $10 and $11 per hour when working for UNA were told that their wages would increase to $12 an hour under UNA. Still not enough. Yet they were given only 2 days to decide whether or not they would sign on with SSC to keep their jobs. Many of their benefits have evaporated as a result of this transition, including time toward becoming vested in the state pension system, as well as accrued sick time. Some employees left hundreds of hours of unspent sick time on the table. Just stolen from them. Hundreds of hours, weeks of time that they had earned. Stolen from them by leeches.
Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
Healthcare costs for most employees will go up under this new contract, erasing any wage increase. Many employees had been staying on at UNA despite low wages for benefits that have now been rescinded. Employees are losing the job security they had at a state institution. Under SSC, they can be fired based on an inflexible point system. SSC told former UNA employees at their staff orientation that their previously scheduled vacation time would not be honored. and that they now have 5 vacation days per year. Employees must work holidays, deemed deep clean days, for only regular pay, and will receive points if they call off on a holiday, with 7 points resulting in termination. Many of the environmental service staff are working mothers who will now be required to spend holidays away from their children. UCW points out that the company's labor business model is exploitative. The company courts universities by offering initial contracts that seem to cut cost, yet journalism on this company indicates that a number of districts have rescinded their contracts over time as the company practiced mass layoffs and rate hikes that led to instability as well as increased expenses. Research indicates that outsourcing university services to private companies fueled by profit motives does not save costs over time. 4. UCW points out that UNA also jeopardizes public safety by transitioning environmental service workers in our buildings and dormitories to contract work. Faculty, staff, and students had built relationships with our environmental service staff over the years, and SSC has a reputation for high turnover among its employees. Who is going to have the keys to our offices and dorm rooms under an exploitative company that seeks to maximize its profit? Turnover threatens our ability to know and build trusting relationships with staff. Additionally, UNA prides itself on the beauty and cleanliness of its campus and employees. When they were state employees with state benefits, the employees shared in that pride. The transition to SSC will negatively impact the beauty and hygiene of the university's campus. And then number 5. We know that UNA will continue to try to cut costs at the bottom of the wage hierarchy, and that they will soon look to pick off other units on campus for outsourcing to SSC. Meanwhile, UNA continues to invest in expensive capital projects and the salaries of UNA's top 3 administrators alone. The university president, VP of Financial and Business Affairs, and Provost tie up more than $1 million of the university's annual budget. According to MIT's living wage calculator, an adult in Florence with no children must make $19.27 an hour in order to survive without government assistance. A university that can afford to build a $65 million sports stadium and that can afford to pay its president over $49,000 per month can afford to pay living wages and provide better benefits for its essential workers. I just can't. How do you, as a university president, like you're presumably looking at your bank account on the same computer that you are signing your name to this contract to steal money from some of the lowest paid and most exploited workers on your campus. How do you do that and go to sleep at night? Demonic possession is the only thing that I can think of. She needs to repent. I don't know.
Well, a couple things. I dealt with this in Huntsville City Schools as I represented employees, and without a doubt, the outsourcing, privatization, it resulted in worse services and more cost, right? It doesn't actually save money. It may look that way at first to the university or the school system or whatever public agency it is, but in the long run, it always costs more. It always has higher turnover. It always has worse services. One example with this particular company, South Bend Community Schools, terminated its contract just recently. And they said it's actually going to save them millions of dollars a year to do it, to bring it in-house. And the board members were celebrating what a big decision this was because of the worst services they have been receiving. So, it's just really the wrong move to make. And I encourage all workers out there who work for a college campus to get involved with the United Campus Workers. They're present throughout the South. Here in Alabama, you can go to ucwal.org. That will bring you to the United Campus Workers of Alabama.
I wanted to give Adam a couple of minutes to talk about some more of his experience with privatization, particularly in the education sector. Adam used to be a school teacher and worked for the Teachers Association for some time in Alabama, so he's got a lot of experience with this. When you heard about this story, what were some of the things that came to mind from your history?
Yeah, I remember some of the scandals that, this sort of privatization embroiled Huntsville City Schools in, because, as I said earlier, the only results you get from this sort of outsourcing is going to be inferior services, right? In large part due to the high turnover of the staff, but also other reasons as well. So you get inferior services, and in the long run, your costs go up. And here's one example. At one time, the school district wanted to change contractors. There had been a lot of complaints about the company that handled custodial services. And of course, myself and others were arguing we should just hire, directly. The district should directly employ these employees like they used to. When they tried to change companies, the company actually sued them and tried to take them to court over the contract dispute. And so it ended up costing even more money to get out from underneath, this company, and they had to pay, the school board attorney to deal with this mess. And, something else that I recall is that several of these contracting companies just so happen to be significant donors to the school board races. So some of the very same school board members who voted on these contracts and turned over what used to be state funded or at least locally funded government employees, right? Public sector jobs. What used to be public sector jobs turned over to these private companies, and some of the very same board members who voted on those contracts and were for those things just so happen to be getting significant contributions from some of those companies and their CEOs for their reelections, right? So those are the sorts of things you introduce when you start dealing with these outside entities. And it really is a direct attack on the workers themselves. They're going to face inferior health care. They're going to face inferior retirement, right? A custodian or groundskeeper who works at the University of North Alabama or Huntsville City Schools or other educational agencies, they have access to the teacher's retirement system. They have a pension, an actual defined benefit pension. And at groundskeeper or custodian wages, it's not going to be a huge jackpot when they retire, but it's a guaranteed retirement income for their years of service. They have paid sick leave and paid personal leave. These are really important. And they have affordable health care, relatively affordable. It could be better, of course, but all things considered, education employees in Alabama have relatively decent health care compared to many in the private sector. So these are direct attacks on these workers, and what the folks on campus are going to experience is that high turnover, the inferior services, and then it's going to be a matter of everyone passing the buck, right? That's one of the other problems with this subcontracting is everyone passes responsibility and accountability for the actual work itself becomes that much harder. So it's a real disaster. And in most agencies that have experimented with this over the years have started to rehire people back into the district because they realize it's more effective. They get better work. They get better workers. And it really is a win-win for everybody.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.
Which side are you on?